In a new age, one searches for a new starting point. China once influenced the world deeply through the Silk Road. But now, everything must start over. Integrate with the world from scratch once again. As time goes on, the face of the Silk Road has changed. Yet the surging motivation within people's hearts has never faded. This is a brand new Silk Road. This is a brand new story on the Silk Road. Milan, the biggest city in Italy, synonymous with fashion. In September, the 2013 Spring-Summer Fashion Week brought Milan into a season of celebration. Wang Ching, a girl from Shandong, will win a chance for herself among fashion models from the rest of the world.
I actually don't find myself pretty. I've always been plain and pale. Everyone calls me Little Grey. Deep down, I'm just an ordinary girl.
Wang Ching flew over 10 hours from Beijing to Milan. She didn't realize she already went from one end of the Silk Road to the other. Wang Ching's destiny is in the hands of the model agency. Almost like in a game show, she will receive notices every night on where to go the next day, who to see, and what shows she has been chosen to work in. Her time every day is taken up by all kinds of interviews without a moment's rest. London, New York, Paris, Milan. Models migrate in line with the 4 big fashion weeks. To fashion models, designers are the judges. To designers, even harsher judges await. The judging panel at the fashion weeks and thousands of professional buyers. In 2 days, designer Roberto Musa will be having his own fashion show. Roberto Musa was one of Milan's most unique fashion designers. His dream is to introduce the most ancient fabric from China into modern society, to bring silk into the average person's everyday life.
Silk is a luxurious fabric. It has very feminine lines. It's pure and clean and it hangs very nicely. The color is bright and beautiful. It's a very interesting fabric.
Ancient Romans made clothes with wool. Ancient Indians used cotton. Ancient Egyptians used flax. Only the Chinese made thread from silkworms into silk. It took 4,000 years from when the Chinese started to breed silkworms to when the Europeans learned to make silk. Ephesus, 2nd century BC. It was the Roman Empire's most important port on the east coast of the Mediterranean. Archaeological excavations brought the ancient city of Ephesus back into daylight. Here, The story of ancient Rome continues to play out every day. In the 1st century BC, the Romans saw silk for the first time. This light, thin, luxurious fabric immediately became something nobles sought after. They were willing to pay in equal amounts of gold for it. The ancient Romans never imagined those tiny worms could change the world. In spring, by the Great Canal, Zhu Xiaolin is preparing for the upcoming silkworm breeding season. Huzhou, Zhejiang in China is famous for its natural silk. Almost everyone in Huzhou is related to silk. Zhu Xiaolin once worked in a silk mill, but after she gave birth to twins, she returned to her village and learned to breed silkworms.
I didn't know how to breed silkworms. I didn't, not at all. I gradually learned at home, year by year, learning as I bred them, year by year. I didn't used to know how.
To make it easier to breed silkworms, Zhu Xiaolin and her husband live in an old house by the canal with their granddaughter. These houses are over 100 years old, but most people have moved away from the long corridors now.
These were all shops when I was little. There were a lot of people then.
The silk here is called Hu silk. 100 years ago, Hu silk won the Gold Award at the World Expo in London. In the 1960s, there was no Hu silk on the London Stock Exchange, but the price of Hu silk was on the newspapers of Shanghai every day. Huzhou produced the first silk in the world 4,700 years ago. In late April, the weather is windy and cool by the canal. Thin plastic tarps are used to set up a greenhouse in the house to hatch silkworm cocoons. This is the wisdom of silkworm breeders. Zhu Xiaolin has 3 children. Her eldest daughter works in the city, and her twins are at university. Every penny is important for this family. Nanjing is the second largest city in eastern China. From the 3rd to the 6th century AD, it was the largest city in the world. Xiao Lei and Yan Fang came to the city from their farming village to weave silk brocade. Today is the last day of the month. They are at the weaving room earlier than usual. Silk brocade was born in Nanjing over 1,500 years ago and was a modern product in a traditional society. The looms are complicated. The procedure is strict and intricate. No less so than the computers of today. Weavers can weave fabric with the same pattern in different colors non-stop. For an entire month, they have been weaving, looking only at the back of this silk brocade. Only at this moment can they see it from the front. Their biggest worry has come true. They have missed one line of thread. The thread is only 0.05 millimeters thick, but it is enough to affect the grading of the product. They hope they can salvage this. The Silk Road starts from the easternmost point of Eurasia to its westernmost point, crossing over plains, mountains, deserts, and lakes. The Silk Road staged trade activities of the largest scale in human history. Searching, waiting, persevering, fighting. None of these dreams have ever changed. In Jing County, Anhui, there is preserved an ancient and mysterious craft. Paper making, another Chinese invention that influenced the world. In the 2nd century BC, there was already jute paper. The secret of paper making was exclusive to China for a shorter time than silk, but it still took almost 1,000 years for paper making techniques to reach Europe. Longtail Village, Jing County, Chengyang, 21 years old. Chengyang likes to play basketball, and his idols are Michael Jordan and Yao Ming. While all the young people in the village left to try their luck in the city after graduating high school, he chose to stay. Chengyang's father is a famous paper-making master. His family's paper-making factory can make up to $1 million each year, and his father hopes for him to take over the factory someday. October is the time for the late rice harvest. The secret of rice paper lies in this unique local straw. This straw has longer fibers than regular straw, ideal for making quality paper. The technique of paper making came from silk reeling. In the 2nd century AD, paper started to become the main writing material in China. Rice paper first came about in the Tang Dynasty. It is ideal for Chinese ink, and to this day, it still cannot be replaced by paper from industrialized production. The craft of making rice paper involves over 100 procedures. Turning the material from paste to paper is the hardest, and a skilled paper maker takes 4 years to train. Chengyang's father demands him to master all the skills of making rice paper before he is 30. All Chengyang can do now are some miscellaneous tasks. Wet paper is stuck on the wall piece by piece to dry. Chengyang has to master this seemingly simple task. Apparently, he still has a long way to go in becoming a paper maker. Like silk, the invention of paper making was a force where China changed the world. From the 13th to the 15th century, paper-making and printing techniques spread to Italy one after another. Some scholars believe these two great inventions from China directly induced the Renaissance. Italy and China may be far apart in distance, but they are quite familiar with each other. Silk connects their imagination at either ends of the Silk Road. Wang Ching is looking for a chance in Milan. What she needs is the approval of the Western idea of aesthetics.
Look at this. It's crazy how she invent, you know? Yeah. Good, really good. Thank you for your work.
Some of the things that you may face is that you may be walking over to give him a card, and maybe you're giving your best in your high heels, and all you may get is just a thank you. You have no time to worry about your performance earlier because you've got to run to the next casting. You're on your way to your next opportunity.
At the same time, fashion designer Roberto Musa was waiting for the models he'll be auditioning. Professional models from around the world pour into Milan during Fashion Week. It isn't easy to book a job. There are countless candidates in Milan hoping to win this job. Roberto's job is to be picky and eliminate all unsuitable candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao. Ciao.
15 years old.
Thank you. Ciao, bye. Thank you, Carolina.
Grazie mille.
Ciao, grazie.
Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, bye. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Good evening.
Ciao. Bye.
Tutti i lavori sono un po' crudeli.
All jobs are cruel and competitive, right?
Tutti vogliono fare business.
Everyone wants to make money. But those are not problems to me. I just want to do my job well and calmly.
None of them tell you the result on the spot. They will look over all the models first, and whoever they want to try on their clothes, they will contact their agency. The success rate is actually very low, because not all shows need an Asian face. That's just the way it goes.
Roberto was born and bred in Italy. His mother runs a fashion boutique, and he grew up surrounded by fashion. After finishing university in Paris, he decided to start his own business.
Everyone is talking about the high unemployment rate for young people now, how there are fewer job opportunities, how corporations are struggling. But I think it's because individuals lack creativity. No one has ever mentioned that. We need people to break the rules and create new things.
Merely 12 years after creating his own brand, he has managed to meet the harsh demands of the judging panel for Fashion Week and present his designs with major brands and longtime names together at Fashion Week. It is a hard-won opportunity. The exhibition of his work hinges on the aura and performance of his models. Among the stack of candidate photos, we found a familiar face. Layla, Wang Ching. Wang Xin from Shenyang came to Dubai in 2008. He is now working to produce his 4th micro-movie. Fortunately, he found friends with similar goals in Dubai.
You aren't busy later, right? I just got this back from China. Put the SLR camera on, and you have a video recorder. Let me shoot some street dancing by the river later on. We're using this to shoot the movie. Let me shoot something of you first to see how it looks.
Wang Xin's upcoming micro-movie is called Dubai Dreams. It's about a group of young people pursuing their dreams in Dubai. Those working with him are also young people working in Dubai. Wang Ching majored in music before studying abroad, but never managed to find a profession he likes. At his cousin's suggestion, he came to Dubai. Now his main job is shooting a food column for a local magazine. Making movies is his hobby and a way of expressing himself.
I've been in Dubai for almost 5 years. I took a chance in coming to Dubai. I've never cared very much about money. I just want approval from others.
Young mulberry leaves have sprouted. In a few days, the silkworm eggs will mature just in time for fresh food. According to tradition, the first meal for baby silkworms must be the second leaf on a mulberry branch. Huzhou is still a main production base of silkworms in China to this day, with professional scientific and research institutions giving out free eggs to silkworm breeders. On the 30th of April, the village representative has already brought back the silkworm eggs overnight. Silkworm breeders are up early, waiting for them. Zhu Xiaolin has wrapped the eggs in red paper for good luck. The eggs are light and small as dust. Every tiny grain contains a life. This is a solemn, regal ceremony. Unexpected rain has caused a drop in temperature. This is a silkworm breeder's greatest fear. In the 3 days it takes for the eggs to hatch, a warm temperature is key for their survival. Silkworm eggs were one of the longest kept secrets in the world. In the 6th century AD, the Romans already knew about silk for 700 years, yet were unable to produce silk locally. Rome still had to pay large amounts of gold for it. This is the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. Legend has it that one day in the 6th century, 2 monks asked to see the king of the Byzantine Empire. They had brought the most important secret on the Silk Road from faraway China: silkworm eggs. Turkey lies at the crossroads of Eurasia. To this day, products, culture, religion, and wisdom from the East and West still intersect here. The technique of silk making spread to Turkey in the 6th century and took another 700 years to reach its final destination in Italy. Today, silk is no longer a mystery. Yet silk brocade is still the most complicated handmade weave in the world. Jacquard silk brocade is still irreplaceable by machines.
This loom is replicating the king's robe from Taiping Heavenly Kingdom for the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom Museum.
Zhou Shuangxi, successor of the craft of silk brocade, His job is to rebuild the techniques of silk brocade through replicating ancient silk products.
We can see from this mirror that the difficulty of weaving royal robes lies in the craftsmanship of the weaver, because the tension of the fabric varies over the seasons. So there is no room for mistakes during weaving. In the past, the weaver had to sign their names after weaving, labeling which weaving household was responsible, so they could be held accountable if there were any problems.
A silk brocade loom must be operated by 2 people, and most partners are husband and wife. Xiao Lei and Yan Feng are the fastest weavers in the museum. Yet even they can only weave a few centimeters a day. Hand-weaved products differ from modernized products in that every piece of work is different. Any mistake made on the loom must be repaired, and every mistake may affect their income for the month. Silk brocade is a living piece of ancient silk product. In the Mid-Qing dynasty, there were 30,000 weaving looms in Nanjing and over 300,000 workers in the silk brocade industry. Today, there are less than 50 people who have truly mastered the craft of silk brocade weaving. Silk brocade may rarely be needed in everyday life, but what they shoulder is the important task of reviving silk brocade. It is a shared human heritage. After 3 days, baby silkworms have hatched from the eggs. Newly hatched silkworms are less than 1 millimeter long. But this tiny being was what changed the history of mankind. To Zhu Xiaolin, silkworm breeding has improved her life. The long holidays during the 1st of May is a festive time at Zhu Xiaolin's house. Her children are home after being away for so long. Zhu Xiaolin is going to make a reunion dinner. Her children in university brought back something new, a computer game called Plants vs. Zombies.
There are no bombs. What is this mushroom? Put it here. It's too fast. I can't catch up. All right, dinner's ready. We try to save every penny in this family. We usually don't buy meat. We spend the money on our children so they can go to school year after year. Only more studying can bring them success.
In ancient China, mulberry fields could be found everywhere. Sichuan is always one of the earliest silkworm breeding grounds. Zhonglai, Sichuan, lies in the southwest of the Chengdu Plains. Its moist soil is suitable for growing mulberry trees. Shuikou Town is an ancient town as well. 100 years ago, silkworm breeding was the main source of income here. At that time, one family could produce 3 to 4 bundles of raw silk. One bundle of raw silk was worth 600 kilograms of rice. Chen Zaifu is a major silkworm breeder here. At the moment, the silkworms in his household are growing rapidly. Picking mulberry leaves is a lot of work. Even his daughter, who is studying in the city, has come back to help. Seasons come at different times in China. In Chen Zaifu's household, the silkworms have already started to make cocoons. "40 kilometers away from Milan, the province of Como is Europe's silk textile industry center. The Italians boast the best technique in silk dyeing and printing. This technique has allowed silk to retain its regal identity. This office is the core of the dyeing and printing factory. In the 13th century, silk-making techniques spread to Italy, and it was, for a time, the biggest silkworm breeding ground in Europe. Nowadays, they have given up on silkworm breeding, yet retained their top-notch techniques in textiles, dyeing, and printing. Raw silk still comes from its hometown in China. 2,000 years later, on the Silk Road, silk still remains closely connected to our lives. Wang Ching is performing silk fashion in Italy. Zhu Xiaolin is working hard breeding silkworms. Xiao Lei and Yan Fang are weaving their lives out in silk. Silk is still traveling from east to west. And Roberto Musa is using silk to bring glamour to his business. There is a light drizzle in Milan. Wang Ching is seeing some setbacks. Wang Ching's feet have always been smaller than the average models. In order to book more shows, she tried everything to wear shoes 2 sizes too big for her. Now she has injured her feet, and she can't do any more shows.
After just one walk on the catwalk, my feet were torn. I didn't even realize I was bleeding. When I tried to walk again, I couldn't do it at all.
This is a situation she faces in almost every show.
I'd keep going if I could. I did it last season. I used 502 glue, and after the show, my feet were all torn up. All the skin came off, but I was happy because I did the show.
Wang Ching has been a professional model for 4 years. In this highly competitive industry, her biggest reward is learning to adjust her mindset. It's the weekend, and her friend Dodo, who was studying in Milan, has come to see her.
I'm a Scorpio, so I am always willing to fight.
Tomorrow is Roberto Musa's fashion show. His chosen models have to do fittings. This is the last rehearsal before the show.
Are the clothes you design wearable? Do they make women look more beautiful? Do they make them look unique? This is what I pursue in my work.
Tomorrow's show is about to start. Yet Roberto is still unhappy with the models. He wants to replace some of them. At the same time, Wang Ching is heading to Roberto's studio for fittings. She is the only Asian face in his show.
More paper?
Yeah. Anyway, I have some double stick.
Yeah, the double stick with you?
Yeah.
Well, you know already.
Yeah, I know I'm small feet, so I take it everywhere.
Clever.
She has an elegant aura, a classic feel to her. I like her performance on the runway. It's very presentable. I'm very happy to work with her.
Many models, including me, are going international. From what I know, there are already many from 2010 on, a few dozen, I think. As the Chinese market kept increasing these 2 years, they may have a greater need for visibility with Asians or the Chinese during Fashion Week to let them see what the clothes look like on Asians.
Tomorrow.
8:30.
Okay, 8:30 p.m.
It's on my head.
Look at this. It's fabulous. Your expression.
Let me dot this on my nose. Not many people know how to develop a career in the modeling industry. Your parents can't teach you either, because they don't know. You must keep telling yourself you're great. Even if no one gives you a second glance in a full day of auditions, you must tell yourself you are the best, or you will never make it, and you won't be able to carry on.
This river is part of the 1,000-year-old Jinghang Canal. Digang Village has also existed in this water network in Jiangnan for thousands of years. The cocoons are mature. This is a major event of the year. Even relatives working in the city have come back to help.
The white ones are textbook.
In Digang, there are 2 cocoon seasons every year. It is said that one strand of soft yet tough spring silk can support 7 copper coins without breaking. This has been the tradition in Digang for thousands of years, and it will be carried on by these remaining silkworm breeders. Zhu Xiaolin has received her salary for the month.
This is 1,200. This is 1,300.
In Chonglai, Sichuan, Chen Zaifu's cocoons also did very well. Unlike Digang, the silkworm breeders here are directly connected to the silk mills. They breed silkworms in a centralized system under the silk mill, and the cocoons go directly to the silk mill. The raw silk is packaged and exported to Italy. The start and end points remain the same as 2,000 years ago. For over 1,000 years, silk, like gold, was a solid currency on the Silk Road. It could be used in exchange for horses and even peace across the borders. Within the country, silk could be paid as taxes or salary. It took the Romans 13 centuries from learning about silk to mastering the craft of making silk. Today, they hold the new secret to making silk. Italian-made silk products have become a luxury good around the world. It is early morning in Nanjing. A huge working population is on its way. Like all rapidly developing cities in the world, countless people pursuing their dreams are gathered here. Today, in Nanjing's 8 million resident population, 1.6 million are migrants. Yanfang and Xiaolei came from Hui'an, Jiangsu. They have been working here for 5 years. Most of the silk brocade produced here is made for art. Quality is strictly monitored. Yinfang nervously awaits the inspection results. The income of a silk brocade weaver depends on their workload every month. Any quality issues will result in deductions from their income. Xiaolei and Yang Fang came first in last year's assessment. This year, they are still aiming for the same goal. The mistake on the silk brocade didn't escape the quality control officer's inspection.
There's a thread here. This seems loose.
It's loose. That's so obvious.
It was finally determined that Xiaolei and Yang Fang are not responsible. Having submitted their work smoothly, this is the most relaxing day of the month for them. Together, they can make over 6,000 a month for their work. Their goal is to buy a house in their hometown. In Dubai, Wang Ching and his friends have formed a band. Today, they are rehearsing a song Wang Ching wrote, One Day in Dubai.
From early 2009, we started these somewhat amateur gigs. But these performances, to us, is about doing our best so we can feel somewhat useful in Dubai.
Go back that way again.
6,000 kilometers away, Roberto Musa's fashion show is about to start. Wang Ching is still worried most about her feet and shoes, but this won't stop her. She is no longer the timid girl who left home 4 years ago. Today, she appears in and travels to fashion weeks around the world, appearing in the top fashion shows.
Am I paid 50 to 100 times more than when I first went to Beijing? I don't think so. I was paid very cheaply back then, about $300 to $500 for a show. It's like fate arranged everything, paving the path step by step to where I am now.
This is what's unique about the runway. It excites me. It's the perfect ending to a job. It makes me emotional to see how much I've thought about come true.
As night descends on Milan, the city of fashion, a fashion spectacular is about to begin.
Leila is ready?
It is time. For a mere 10 minutes on stage, Roberto has taken a year in preparation, while Wang Ching has prepared for 4 years.
I think about it every day. What if my legs fail me? What if I can't get a job anymore? What should I do then? I actually have a very strong sense of crisis.
Aiste, you are the first for the finale.
But I feel that I still have what it takes to enjoy a different life now, unlike my mom, who goes to work every day, repeating the same routine. That's quite nice too.
In Digong, silkworm breeding season is over. Zhu Xiaolin saved some cocoons to make a blanket for her daughter. Despite hoping her children can change their destinies through studying, Zhu Xiaolin has no desire to change her life. She likes the life that she's living. Xiaolei and Yanfang have started another round of hard work, weaving their future on this ancient loom. One plant, one animal, one discovery, leading to a trip of the largest scale in the history of mankind. There is someone embarking on the most important journey of their lives every moment. What accompanies us as we go forward is an infinite desire for the unknown. The two ends of the Silk Road are no longer from the east to the west, but the distance between a mulberry leaf and top fashion. The distance between dreaming and realizing those dreams. The Silk Road is every person's innermost dream.
I wasn't used to it at first.
Zhu Chen, world chess grandmaster, married into an Arabic world from the hometown of the Silk Road.
I suddenly had a thought, would I be buried here someday?
How do people begin new lives amidst partings and reunions? Please stay tuned for the Silk Road, a renewed journey. Episode 7, Partings in the East and West.